Hello and welcome back to Andree Unfiltered, my podcast where I talk about absolutely everything and nothing almost. And we have made it all the way to episode number 12 now. And today I wanted to talk about something that's something that I am reflecting over a lot, and I also talk to people around me a lot about this. It's a very important matter in my life and how I view humans and in general. And it's about defining humans and how I am defining humans, like what's important for me. Because I think we live in a world today where we define people from so many things that are, in my opinion, not important. But I mean, this is just my point of view. I'm not saying what's right or what's wrong. This is completely without any judgmental. I just want to share my points of view, and everyone has the right to feel and think however they want. So no judgments here. But for me, I find it that there are so many things today. As soon as you meet a human being, like the first things we ask them, I know I talked about this in a previous episode, but I wanted to specifically talk about this and like break it down, my viewpoint and my aspect of it. But the first questions we normally ask someone if we meet a person for the first time is how old they are, what they work with, and where they live. And out of the answers from those questions, we kind of build ourselves briefly, like how we put in the category, like if we think this person is a successful person, if we're going to look up to this person, if there's someone we're not going to look up to. And I mean, to be fairly honest, none of those three things really say anything about that person, who they are as a human being. And what I mean by that is that it's just like superficial things, like the address you're living on. It kind of can say how much money you have, but at the end of the day, honestly, how important is that? How important is money when it comes to who you are as a person? It doesn't say anything about you more than you might have made yourself success or maybe you inherited money or you made a business. And I mean, those aspects can be something to look up to business-wise. But I think business-wise, to be inspired by someone because they made a successful business story, that's something completely different from looking up to someone based on who they are as a person and how much money they have, or fame, or anything like that. It doesn't really say anything about who they are as a person. And the same thing with work. Like, it doesn't really matter what the person is working with. It doesn't say anything about who they are as humans. It only says what type of career they have made, what type of career choices they have made. Like, it doesn't really say anything else. And age, it doesn't say anything. It only says how much life experience you have had and how much time you have had, how much life experience you could have had and how much time you've had on this planet. It doesn't really say anything about who you are as a person, absolutely nothing. But yet we are super curious to always know how old someone is and what they work with, and those things seem to be really important. And for me, I kind of don't like to define people, and I don't like when people are defining me based on these things. I kind of don't like it when people ask me the first time they meet me, like, what are you working with? And where do you live? Because as soon as I say I live on the countryside and I work with social medias, it kind of puts a stamp on me that I am a little bit stupid, because people seem to have that vision that people that work with social medias, a lot of people, they don't really grasp what that is. That can be super wide, but it doesn't really say anything about me, because yes, I work with social medias and I am very passionate about what I do. I love what I'm doing. I love the filming. I love the editing, being creative. I love to do my different sessions. I love to do all of these things. And I'm very blessed and thankful that I can do something and live out of it. It doesn't make me a fortune. It doesn't make me rich. And I don't want to be super famous. I don't have that in my vision. Those are not my goals. I'm just very blessed that I can do something that I love, but it doesn't mean that I don't have other passions in life. And if you have been looking at my social medias, you see that I'm super spread what goes for my niches. I have so many different niches. And it's because I like to do so many different things. I don't want to just pick one thing to do because I have so many ideas and I don't even have the time to do all of the things I would like to do. And then I'm already running like 6 YouTube channels and multiple Instagram accounts and TikTok accounts. And I don't have to be the biggest influencer or like the biggest accounts. For me, I do it just because I have a passion, and I'm very thankful that I can do it and that I can live out of it, even if it's not going to make me super rich. But people seem to have another picture. They seem to think like, oh, she's doing that because she cannot do anything else. And that's not the truth. That's far from the truth. Like, I could do other things as well. And that really doesn't say anything. Like, my current job doesn't really say who I am as a person. So why are we so quick to judge people based on what they are working with? The same thing with fame. And I see this with people seem to be very fascinated about money and fame and titles. In Sweden, we are not so much like in other countries. I'm not going to specifically name countries, but in some other countries, it's really like a title, like a doctor, or it really weighs heavy. It's really like if you have that, it's really people look up to you. But honestly, you can be a doctor and a total, excuse my language, but a total dickhead. What goes for who you are as a human being. So honestly, why are the materialistic things so important to define a person? Because it says absolutely nothing. The look says absolutely nothing about a person. And that's also one thing. I've been working as a model for many years, and people they can choose if they like me or not based on how I am looking and what I'm doing. And honestly, it doesn't say anything about who I am as a person. I am not a superficial model. I don't say that models are that, but people have a picture that a lot of people that are working and earning money from how they look, they have a special way of being. And that's so far from the truth. And I have met so many models during my years, and some people might be a little bit like that, yes, but many people are the complete opposite. Very down to earth and very giving and want to give back to the society and want to do better and are like very, very nice people. But to judge someone based on all of this superficial things, materialistic things, how someone look, what someone is wearing, if they have expensive car, if they have an expensive bag, an expensive watch, if they have a job title, live on a fancy address, have fame, have a lot of money, that says nothing about who this person is. It only says which type of success they might have had, and basically nothing else. Because you cannot buy yourself a good personality. That's something you have to work on. And you cannot, it doesn't really say that you are a good person just because you have been working hard, earn a lot of money, or gain a lot of fame. But what is a good person? I mean, it's in the eye of the beholder. Like, it's different from all the people. What I think is a good person, you might not agree on. But I have a vision that I think that the only thing that matters is who you are as a human being towards yourself and towards other people and living animals and living species. That is the only thing that I think actually should define you as a human. And I'm not talking about, of course, you can be defined as a business partner, as a business person. That's completely different. But that is not about who you are as a person. Whether or not you're successful in your business and how they define you in your work, that is not something that has to define you outside of work. It can be completely different things, but it seems to be all glued together to be like who someone is defined out of how much money, fame, wealth overall, nice things, title, job titles and things. And I just never liked that. For me, I can be super fascinated about if someone have made a success story, if someone has made a huge business out of nothing, if someone has made a huge career from nowhere, if someone has made really hard work or like put a lot of effort in, or like athletes that are like putting their all into things. I can be super fascinated about that, but that doesn't mean that I like the person. It's not that I'm fascinated about maybe how they are as a human. I'm fascinated about their gain, their success story, but it's completely different things. I separate it from the person. It doesn't mean that a person that has been building a business and been doing amazing progress, it doesn't mean that just because I'm fascinated about that progress, that it equals that I am going to think that person is an amazing person, because it doesn't have to be that. And it doesn't have to mean that, okay, this person is not a very nice human being. It doesn't have to mean that I cannot be impressed by the success that person made. But I don't think one thing equals the other. And it seems to be like that. In today's society, it seems to be like the only thing that matters are the superficial things. And that is kind of defining you as a person. And I don't agree with that. I think we should separate it. Fame, titles, address, materialistic things. It doesn't say who you are as a person. And for me, and this is just me personally, I think it's super interesting who people are as people, like as humans. Who is the person I have in front of me? If you strip everything away, the only thing you have left is your personality and who you are as a person. And that is the only thing that matters. That is what you should be defined as. That is what should define you. And I think we should look at ourselves like that and other people. Because everyone can lose everything. You can lose your look overnight. So you can be in an accident and completely lose the way you look. You can lose your business, your money, your house can burn down, your car can crash, you can lose your money, your business can turn around, and all of a sudden your business is not so profitable anymore. You can lose your fame. One day you're just not accurate anymore and people forget about you. All of these things, like materialistic things, bags and everything, of course you can lose everything. Like someone can rob you, you can lose it, you can have to sell it. Like, why do we define ourselves out of all of these things that is not in our position to control? Because we cannot always control all of these things, but yet we let all of these things define who we are and make it so important. And we forget to work on the base core, the thing that we always have, unless we are getting sick like Alzheimer's and things and the personality is changing, of course. But I'm talking baseline in normal scenarios. The only thing that no one can take away from you and you don't lose or cannot lose overnight is who are you if you strip everything away. And that should be the thing that you are proud of to be defined by. And if you don't feel like, I'm not proud, if I take everything away, I'm not proud of who I am as a person, then you should work on it. Because we cannot hide behind all of these materialistic things. Money, fame, all of this. We cannot hide behind it and pretend that we can be defined to be great humans just based on those things. Not in my perspective. Who someone are towards themselves and other people and other living species, that is what should define someone. And who is a good person and not, that's depending on, like, I cannot sit and say what's right or wrong, because everyone has their own aspects of who is a good person. But I think at least to your core, you should feel proud of who you are as a person. And that is important. That if you take a few minutes, just take a few minutes and think about everything that you're proud of. And then write it down. Like, write down all the things about yourself that you are proud of. And then make a little star on all of these points that actually had to do something with your personality, something that no one can take away from you. Because I bet if I ask someone to write down everything they are proud of about themselves, without saying all of this first, without having all of this, talking about all of this that I just did, I bet many people would be like proud of their success, proud of their business, proud of their where they are in life, and proud of, but many people forget to actually mention things in their personality, who they are as a person. And I think we should start to reflect more over that. And I know for me, it was a big game changer to start to reflect, because I also felt sometimes, and many times throughout all my years working as model and with social medias, I've been doing so many different things, and I have so many different educations, and I felt so many times that I had to defend myself when someone asked what I was working with. And I couldn't just say like, oh, I'm working as a model, and just leave it there. I always had I always felt like I had to defend myself, like, I'm working as a model, but I also have this education, I'm also doing this, I'm also like, because I was at some points not afraid, but I didn't want people to just define me as a model, because I was so much more. And the same thing today, I'm not doing that, but sometimes I can kind of feel like I have to defend myself a little bit, because it feels so shallow to just say I'm working with social medias. First of all, a lot of people, and especially older people, they don't really understand what that means. But other people are like, okay, well, that's not a real work. That's not like a real work. And I have been talking also with people about this and having a discussion. Like, if we take my sister and me, for example, my sister and I are working in completely different businesses. She's working with project leading in redeveloping houses and buildings. A work that they kind of look up to it and like, wow, that's cool. And then we have me working with social medias. And I would honestly say, I think me and my sister, we are equally smart. We have equally easy to learn things. We are working equally hard, and we are earning on and off equally money. Sometimes she's earning more than me. Sometimes I'm earning more than her. But overall, it's very equal. But yet, if someone is asking both of us, they kind of see that she has a really like looking up to her job, and my job is just like, oh, okay, it's not really a job. And why should that define us as human beings? And why are we doing that to people around us, to ourselves? It's honestly not important when it comes to business-wise. Yes, absolutely. If we are in a business interview, a work interview, these things matters. Experience matters, everything like previous experience, education, etc. That is important in that scenario. I'm not saying that it's not important in life. I have a high work ethic. I admire people that has high work ethic. I don't say that these things is not important. It's completely different things. I'm just saying that these things shouldn't define who we are as humans, because it doesn't say anything about who you are as a human being. And when it comes to me and my sister, I think we are both amazing human beings. We are very different in many ways, but it's our work titles is not saying anything more than what we are working with and making a living out of. And my sister is always the first one to defend me. Always when we are in scenarios, when we meet new people and we have this discussion, she's always saying, oh, but Denise is working more than me. She's earning more than me. She's always defending me. And even she feels like she has to defend me because people are putting the stamp that I am kind of, oh, not really having a work. That's not really a work. And maybe think that I am less intelligent because I've been working as a model for so long. And honestly, like, I could work with so many different things, but I have chosen to work with this because I am passionate about it. I don't know what I will do for the future. I'm going to do things that I'm passionate about and make a living, find a way to make a living out of it. And it feels like I'm never working a day in my life, but I'm working all the days in my life. I love to work. But I mean, this is only defining me as like who I am with work. And it's the same thing with a doctor or whoever is working with whatever. Their work is not defining them as a person. I don't think so. And I think it shouldn't be like that in both ways. Someone that is working as a cleaner can be an amazing human being, and you can have so much to learn from that. And maybe that person has super high educations, but maybe come from another country and just because of a language barrier or something cannot work with that in this country and has to work with something like cleaning bathrooms or something. Or maybe that person is super passionate about that and really love the work and doesn't want to work with anything else. Why should we look down to them? I'm not saying that it's something to look down on. I think everyone that is working, it's like, it's better to work than to just say, I cannot get a job just because you cannot get a job that is matching to your standard. I think people are afraid to take jobs that are what I quote, like beneath them because they are afraid of how people will look at them, which shouldn't be like that. Like if you are out of job and you can make a living doing something that is maybe not in your dream baseline right now, why is that something you shouldn't do just because how people will look at you? Who cares? Do whatever you need to do and live your life. And who cares what other people are thinking about your work? That is not important. And at the same time, someone that has an amazing title, say a doctor, for example, or an architect, or I don't know which titles people are usually looking up to, but they can be really assholes, cheating on their wives, or if they like cheating on their husbands, not being nice to their kids, not being nice to people in general they don't know and they know, and not being nice to themselves, beating themselves down. Like, you see the points what I'm saying here? It's like we should define people who they are as humans because we are interacting with humans if it's not work related. I'm just talking now outside of work, not work related, but outside of work, how we are defining people we meet. We should see them for who they are as humans. And it takes a little time. That's not something that we can just jump on conclusions as soon as we meet someone. Of course, we can read the energy, and some people we can read the energy right away, like, wow, this is someone I'm vibing with, and then we can change our mind. And it can be the opposite way. It can be also like, nah, I don't really think that I'm vibing with this person. But then you get to know them and you find things and energies that you like. But to put them in a category, whether you should look up to them or not as a person based on this materialistic things and work and addresses and things, it doesn't really, it will not get you far in your relationships with other people. With that being said, if you want to have role models in a business, or if you want to have role model what goes for having someone to look up to push yourself business related or anything like that, that is a completely different thing. If you interact with someone knowing that I am just interacting with this person because I want to be inspired for my business, then it doesn't matter who that person is beneath all of that work business person. But if you're going to have people in your life, friends, family, and people that you meet and have for a certain time or for a longer time, there is a saying that some friends are for life, some for a season, and some for a reason. And it like, depending on which category they are in, it can be more or less important who they are as humans. I just don't like the thing that we always define people based on this materialistic things. And me, myself, I honestly, I don't get inspired, like fascinated by fame, for example. People are so fascinated by famous people. They get like, oh, that person is famous. And yeah, of course, I can think it's really cool if someone is famous and are doing something that I like. Oh, this is an amazing actor or actress, or this is an amazing artist or something. I can look up to that, but I'm not going to be fascinated of them as a person until I know them. And I have met a lot of people that are famous, and for me, it's just like meeting another person. I'm not going to be all like different in the way I am or who I am or acting in a different way just because someone is very famous, because it's at the end of the day still a human being. And if I'm going to meet that person, I want to meet that person on a level, getting to know who that person is as a human, because that we usually don't know. If we see people in their fame and glory and on social medias, it's very hard sometimes to actually know who they are as a person. And that is the only thing that is interesting. If you strip away everything else, who do I have in front of me? And that is the only thing that is going to be interesting in that aspect. Then it can be super interesting and fascinating that person has made a super success story. And I can listen to that success story and be inspired and be like, wow, I also want to do this. Oh, okay, how did you do that? Okay, I'm going to take that, like notes on that and implement that in my own business strategy or my own success strategy or whatever it is. But that's a separate thing from defining that person. Then you are defining that person's fame, that person's journey to where they are today. You see what I mean? The difference of defining the person or defining the journey, defining the success. It shouldn't go combined. Of course, it's the same person. People are living their success. But someone that is just living their success and not working on who they are as a human, if they lose everything, I don't think it's so much depth to it, because one day they will not or might not be successful. And then what do they have? What do we have? We only have for granted our personality and who we are. That is something no one can take away from you. That is someone no one else can control. People can try to control it, but baseline, if we say like, that is something that you are who you are. And you can choose who you are and choose to not live your life through the loop of defining yourself based on look, address, materialistic things, titles, jobs, etc. And I think today with social medias, and this is funny because I work with social medias, but that is also why I wanted to do this podcast, because I wanted to kind of put other things out there that is not, oh, I'm modeling this activewear, or oh, I'm showing off this, and now I'm doing a review of that, or I'm doing this photo session now, and this is behind the scene, and there's so much more, and I don't want people to define me based on that, and I don't want people to think that I think that people should define themselves based on what they are having, or who they are, or who they are looking. And I think with social media today that people are seeing so much things on social medias, and they think that my life is shit because everyone else is living such great life, and I'm just doing nothing. But it doesn't mean that you are nothing. You can still be a great human. And that person you see on social media can be a completely shithead as a human being. And you should be able to decide if you want to look up to a person, and it should be based on if there is something that that person has that you want to, that you admire, and how they are as a person. So let's just take a moment to define ourselves based on who we are, and think about who you are if you take away everything else, and then think about the people that you actually look up to and that you want to be, or that you want to be inspired by, and then take away everything. Take away how they look, take away their success and money and everything, and all the nice things and all the nice cars, the nice houses, the work. Take away all of that and ask yourself, do you really know who this person is without all of that? Because I think in many cases we don't really know. We don't really know the person behind it. We know all of these things around, and that is how we define the person. And imagine one day that person doesn't have anything of that. Who is that person? Do you even know that person? That is the core, I think. And for me, that is the most interesting thing when I meet new people. If you scratch beneath the surface, beneath all of that, who do I have in front of me? And I'm not saying that everyone should be like that. I'm just humbly putting my perspective on how I am defining people. And it's not by fame or money or nice things. I like nice things. I have nice things. I have purchased nice things. But I'm not defining myself with them. If I would lose everything, I would be super sad, of course. Who wants to lose everything? That would be devastating, of course, in one way. But I still have my personality, and I still have who I am as a person. And I want to wake up and be proud every day of who I am. And that is what I'm working towards. And I think that is what people should be working towards, more than working towards having the more nicer car or the more nicer house or whatever it can be. More money, more fame. We can lose all of that, but your personality you wake up with every single day, and choosing, which I think is a beautiful thing. So how do you define people? And I have a feeling that most people will say that, oh, but that makes sense. And that is how they are viewing people. But honestly, I think most people actually defines other people based on other things rather than who they are. And I think that's normal. I don't think that's anything that is weird. Me, myself, I can sometimes fall back into that. Not really, but sometimes I fall back to being like, oh, based on something. And then I think once more and I'm like, yeah, but that doesn't really say anything about this person. So maybe I shouldn't be too quick to judge on a good or a bad way based on something that is not really maybe important when it comes to personality. So yeah, that is my thoughts about that. But this is actually something that I am reflecting about a lot, talking about a lot, and living by a lot. It's something that is important to me. Is weird to say, but something that I am reflecting on very often, and that's why it was something that I wanted to bring light to here in my Andree Unfiltered, my place where I'm absolutely unfiltered. I'm not even editing the vlog, the podcast, which I don't know if that's something I will continue or I will change that in the future. I have no idea how this podcast will turn out in the future. I just want to have a space to share something that is completely different from what I do on other social medias. Not to defend myself, only to... I feel like I have other things to share. other than showing how clothes are fitting or doing reviews or showing and sharing sessions and travel inspiration and everything else that I'm doing on social medias. I just feel like this is so me. And everyone that knows me knows that this is so me, talking about who we are and how we can control the brain, how we are among other people. Like, that's so me. I'm always talking about these things, and everyone that knows me, not only from social medias, but that actually knows me, knows that this is things that I am. It's a huge piece of me to talk about these things. So that's why I wanted to have a space to like share my thoughts. And then it's up to everyone else if you can like take something from it, or if you just like to listen, or yeah. But thank you so much for listening anyway. I do appreciate it a lot, and I love to read feedback. And this is topics that I'm talking about here is things that I am very passionate about. So I would love to have discussions and things. I don't know, maybe in the future I will have some sort of place to with like more open discussions, because honestly now I'm just sitting and talking by myself and sharing my thoughts, but I love to interact with other people and see other people's point of view, and that is teaching me a lot to like open my mind to see things from other perspectives and see it from other point of views. I'm not saying that I have the truth. I am so far from having the truth about everything in life. So I really like to interact with other people to rug my truth and see things from other ways as well. And I'm very open-minded to learn and to like get new paths and new truths and see things from other perspectives. So if you have any thoughts or feelings you want to share, you can always make comment. If you're on YouTube, you can always contact me on my other medias or my email or so. And yeah, I just hope you like this. If you have any feedback on my podcast so far, it's in the very beginning, it's just episode number 12, but if you have any sort of feedback, I would love to read it, but be gentle. I am new to this. I'm still learning. Nothing is perfect. And I'm learning every single time I'm pressing record. I'm learning something new. And this is my journey in this podcast journey. But thanks so much for being a part of it. And I hope that you will tune in on my next episode. I'm uploading every Monday and every Friday now. And I'm planning on holding that schedule and being very consistent, so you can count on having a new episode every Monday and every Friday. And so, yeah, I will see you, or you will listen to me in my next episode. But until then, have a wonderful day and share your reflections over what I talked about today and how you view this. And see you very soon. Bye.